Hi there. My name's Jeff Lark, and welcome to Bible Study Methods. I wanted to walk through a process with you over the next 20 videos or so of how to read the Bible for life change. And in this first video, I simply wanted to give you a brief overview of the model and also just kind of dive into a few different ways or philosophies even of kind of how we can see the scriptures. And so our model essentially consists of two worlds. Our world that we live in, which includes our worldview, our philosophies, our experiences, so on and so forth, and then the biblical world. And so as we think about this model, we think of three key words. As we dive into the biblical world, we're going to read the text, obviously. Read the passage, read the scripture. And when we do that, what we're going to do over the process of these videos is we're going to walk through how to rightly read the scriptures, how to understand the context, how to read the text. And then we're going to come up with what we call aims for the original audience. We're going to then also think through how do we relate what we read and what the author was communicating to his original audience to us today. Because the scriptures were not written initially to us. They were written to another audience in another context 2,000 to 3,000 years ago. And so how do we take what we've read for another audience and relate that to us today? We're going to walk through that. And then we're going to think through how to respond. And I'm using the word respond not just because it's another R word, but because God is the God who takes initiative. He took initiative in creation. He's taken initiative in establishing covenants with his people. And he's taken initiative in redemption. And so as we think about how we read the scriptures and how we rightly read the scriptures and then apply them to our lives, the application is most always a response. It's a response to what he's done for us. And so we're going to think through how do we respond in our particular context to the text with the idea of the, again, aims that God would have for us. But before we get into the whole model and begin to dive in, I want to think through about three different philosophies in our world when it comes to reading the scriptures. The first is that we could act as if, or think that the scriptures lie on the other side, the world of the scriptures lie on the other side of this clear window, and all we need to do in order to be able to see through that window is just simply to plug in the right formulas, ask the right questions, and bam, we can see clearly the biblical text and rightly interpret it 100% of the time, then rightly apply it to our lives. I don't necessarily ascribe to that worldview. I think for a while I did, and then I was sorely disappointed. But there's another worldview or another philosophy as it comes to the scriptures that people would say, no, it's not a window you're looking through. It's actually a mirror that you're looking in. And anything that you see in the scriptures, you're actually seeing reflections of yourself. You're just simply seeing what you want to say. You're simply reading from your worldview and your perspective, and all that you're seeing in there is you and what you think. And so you can't see at all what the author intended on the other side in the biblical world. And I wouldn't ascribe to this either. But I would say that reading the scriptures and coming to the scriptures is like looking through this foggy window where there's some places where you can kind of look through and you can see fairly clearly, but other places where it's hard to see. And the reason why that's the case is because all of us come to the scriptures with certain lenses. We come with our worldviews, we come with our cultural contexts, we come from our experiences, we come as male or female, we come as those who come from a shame-honor perspective or a fear-power or a guilt-innocence worldview, and all those things shape the way that we see what's being said in the scriptures, and they taint. And so if I'm in a shame-honor passage that really is about shame-honor, but I'm reading it from a guilt-innocence perspective, I'm not being able to see clearly what that author intended to communicate to his original audience. And the reason I bring this up is because, first, we need to have a level of humility when we come to the scriptures. Again, I wouldn't want to communicate in these 20 or 21 videos that all you need to do is plug in the right formula and you can just see clearly on the other side. I wouldn't want to communicate that, but I would say that there are tools that we want to employ to be able to get to be able to see as clearly as we can to the other side. But we need to come with a level of humility. We need to also come with a dependence upon the Spirit, where we need God to open our eyes. We need God. The fear in being able to present all these great tools to be able to read and interpret the scriptures is that we begin to depend upon those tools to read and interpret the scriptures instead of depending upon the Spirit of God to give us insight, to illumine, to show the things that we need for Him to show us. And the other reason I bring this up is that we need community to be able to rightly read and interpret the scriptures, because there may be someone standing beside us looking through this window who has a vantage point because of their perspective, because of their worldview, because of their experiences, that they can see from their vantage point more clearly than we can. We're standing on the side where it's a little bit more foggy. And so maybe we need one another. We need them, and then there's going to be other times where they need us to be able to rightly see and understand and interpret and apply the scriptures to our lives. And so I'd say here again that we need humility, we need the Spirit, and we need one another to be able to read the scriptures as we look through this kind of fogged glass to the world of the text. In these next 20 videos, now we're going to begin to dive in and walk through this process of being able to read the scriptures for life change.